Nama Sankirtanam important? Well, remember, Nama Sankirtanam alone is not important. We should learn Vedam, we should learn Prabandham, we should learn Shlokas. But not at every instance will a person have the capability, the finesse in him or her to learn tough shlokas. In that case, that act which rescued Gajendra, that act which rescued Draupadi in the middle of the Sabha was to perform Sharanagati and to take the name of the Lord. In the Tamil language, one Acharya says, Avattile Pudavai Surandadu Tirunamamire. It is the Nama that protected her. So that Nama, taking the name of the Lord, which is very, very contrary to the thoughts of the Western religions. For example, in Judaism, the 10 commandments which Moses received, in that one of the commandments says, do not take the name of the Lord in vain. Unnecessarily do not take the name of the Lord. Whereas it's just the opposite in Sanatana Dharma, whether you sit, stand, keep thinking of the Lord and take the name of His. So why should I trouble Him unnecessarily? No, you are always in His thoughts when you take His name. That is why, if you remember, probably students, my dear friends of this generation may not know, but elderly people will know. But when elderly people have to rise from their seat and age is kind of tormenting them with bodily pain, while they rise from their seat or while they have to sit, they will always take the name of the Lord. Rama, Krishna, Govinda. Govinda, 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 Guru Vairappa. That's how they'll get up and sit. So, coming to the essence of Nama Sankirtanam, it says that you take the name of the Lord with utmost devotion from whichever place you are. Whether you are in San Jose, Cupertino, Los Angeles, Portland, Seattle, whichever place you are. It doesn't mean Lord has created only Bharata Desham. He has created the entire universe. Whatever you see around is His creation. So there is nothing like one country belongs to Him, the other country doesn't. So in whichever geography you are, you take the name of the Lord. So when a Vaishnava respects Nama Sankirtanam, here is one shloka which goes, Vaishnavo Vaishnavam Drishtva Dandavat Pranamed Bhuvi Tayor Madhyagato Vishnuhu Shankha Gadadaraha. If one devotee sees the other, they fall at each other's feet, respecting each other. And to see this drishyam, Vishnu with his weapons will come and stand there so that he also partakes the beauty of seeing a Vaishnava meeting another Vaishnava. Tulasi Kananam Yatra Yatra Padmavanani cha Vasanti Vaishnava Yatra Tatta Sannihito Harihi. The first Azhwar, Poigai Azhwar says, well, let me light a lamp and check where the Lord is. He says, Vayyam Tagaliya, Vargadale Neyyaga, Vayyakadiron Velakkaga, Seyyachudar Ariyan Adikke, Shuttineen, Sol Malai, Idar Ari Ningugave Yendru. So, as this Azhwar lights the lamp of knowledge, the second Azhwar, whose Bhudat Azhwar states, even I shall light a lamp. Poigai Azhwar, you have lit a lamp to see who is that who's kind of squeezing himself or herself between us, the three of us. I will light a lamp. Anbe Tagaliya, Arvame Neyyaga, Inburugu Sindai Idudiriya, Nanburugu Jnanachudar Vilakkettrineen, Naranarku Jnanattamil Purinda Nan. I am singing in Chase Tamil, Bhakti Tamil. Let me see who this is. So he also tried lighting the lamp through knowledge. The third Azhwar said, I will not light the lamp. Pei Azhwar said, I will not light the lamp because both of you have lit and I can see who is clearly trying to squeeze. With the three of us here, somebody is trying to squeeze in, right? I can see who that is. The first two Azhwars asked, who is it? See, I can see Mahalakshmi here. If Mahalakshmi is here, then it must be Lord Sriman Narayana, because without Mahalakshmi, he will never come out. Tirukkandeen, Ponmeni Kandeen, Tigalum Arukkan Ani Niramum Kandeen, Sharit Kilarum Punnari Kandeen, Purisangam Kai Kandeen, Yennari Vannan Pal Indru. Yennari Vannan. To that Lord of mine, I am singing such praises, he says. So, as the three Azhwars lit the lamp and they wanted to see, it was none but the Lord who wanted to be amidst them. So, be it Poigayalvar, Bhudattalvar or Peyalvar, the life history of theirs is very, very succinct and simple. But the devotion that they showed to the Lord is worth remembering and is very, very deep. These three Alvars sang a set of 100 pasurams each in the format where the last word of their verse will be the first word of the next subsequent verse. It's called Andadi, like how we all pray Antakshari. It's called Andadi. The first set of 100 verses by Poigayalvar was called Mudal Tiruvandadi. The second set of 100 verses by Bhudattalvar is called Irandam Tiruvandadi. The third set of 100 verses sung by Peyalvar is called Moondram Tiruvandadi. So the three Alvars called Mudal Alvargal gave the first three Prabandhams called Mudal, Irandam, Moondram Tiruvandadi of 100 pasurams each. Prithivya Tayordhvam Chotpapatasa Mahisara Kshetratula Bharavasta Bhabhuvasa Kshetrasyasya Tada Dhata Namadheyam Dadau Swayam Mahisara Kshetramiti Tenanvartham Chaturmukhaha. A group of rishis, the list is given in the Guru Parampara Prabhavam, Atri, Vasishta, Bhrigu, Bhargava, Pulastya, Angiras, asked Brahma, we all wish to contemplate, meditate upon the Lord. Please mention of a kshetram, which is the best. To which Brahma is said to have said, Mahisara Kshetram in Sanskritam. In Tamil it is called Tirumalizai. Please go to this locality. This is currently in the outskirts of Chennai now. Please go to this place, just geography, and meditate on the Lord. And the rishis came. And they had a very, very satisfying, fully satisfying experience of the Lord by meditating upon Him. And while they all left, Bhargava Rishi stayed back. And he was reciting the Dwadashakshari, which is the Vasudeva Mahamantra. Later, Tirumalizai himself invokes the Dwadashakshari. He says, Moondru muppatari nodu or aindu mai moondru murti agi moondru mai tondru chodi moondru maya tulakkam il velakkamai ennendra aviyul puhundu engolo yamísane. So in this pasuram he describes the way one derives the 12 syllabled Dwadashakshara Mahamantram, Vasudeva Mahamantram. Then Bhargava Maharishi meditated upon the Lord, and as a result of it, Indra was very, very much perturbed. He thought that if this Bhargava Maharishi is led to performing the penance, then it will become very disgraceful upon us. So he sends an Apsara Stri. And this Apsara Stri comes down and she tries to distract the attention of Bhargava Maharishi. And as a result of which, there is a child born eventually in the months. And this child, which is orphaned by both the mother and the father, is brought up by a hunter couple. And this hunter couple tries to give every possible love that parents can give to their child. And understanding this child's greatness in always staying quiet and meditating upon the Lord, another couple invoke the blessings of this child and consume the milk left by the child, as a result of which, by the divine grace, they too have a son called as Kanikannan. And this child of the hunter couple, he grows on to be a very, very philosophically mature person. And this child is treated in the traditional Vaishnava Sampradayam as the incarnation of Vishnu's Sudarshana Chakram. Alvar himself indicates, Kadiron Marayai Ariyal Maraitaral, Ariyar Ariyan Pal Aripadai Tottu Chakarapani Allaye. So this child, who is the incarnation of Chakram, though he did not have any formal education into the Vedic system, became a staunch propagator of the ideals of Sanatana Dharma. So much so that he becomes the Acharya for Peyalvar later, the last of the three Mudal Alvars. That Peyalvar's Acharya is Tirumalizhai Alvar. Though there is no indication in their Pasurams, he becomes the one who brings clarity to the mind of Peyalvar. Now this Peyalvar is the one who has inculcated Paradevata Paramarthyam, that is the ultimate source of meditation, object of meditation, who is Lord Sriman Narayana. So, this Tirumalizhai Alvar, from his very boyhood, developed an interest to the Itihasas and the Puranas, and subsequently started singing Tamil Pasurams. These Tamil Pasurams were compiled by him in two different works. One was called Nanmugan Tiruvandadi and the other one was Tiruchanda Viruttam. This Tiruchanda Viruttam, Prabandham and the Pasuram is what I spoke initially. Moondru Moondru Muppattari Nodu. Well, he describes Nanmugan Tiruvandadi. It's called Nanmugan Tiruvandadi because it begins with the word Nanmugan. It talks about Brahma being created by Rudra, Rudra who's created by Narayana. And who is Rudra? He describes in various places as the one who sports the crescent moon on his matted locks, the one who has got the virulent poison bearing snake around his throat, the one who has consumed a halahala visham for the welfare of the mankind and is called Neelakantha. He says, Nanmuganai Narayanan Padaittan, Nanmuganum Tanmugamai Shankaranaittan, Ishanaittan, Arushadai Karandanaittan, Varshadayanaittan, Katrai Shadayanaittan, Tunnu Shenshadayanaittan, தீக்கொண்ட செம்சடையானைத்தான், திங்கள் சடை ஏற வைத்தானைத்தான், கீறு திங்கள் வைத்தானைத்தான், நீள்முடியானைத்தான், ஒன்றிரண்டு கண்ணினானைத்தான், கண்மூன்றத்தானைத்தான், கரை கண்ட கண்டத்தானைத்தான், உவரிக்கடல் நஞ்சமுண்டானைத்தான், நீரு ஆடினானைத்தான், மாது தங்கு கூற்றானைத்தான் படைத்தான், says Tirumalizhai Alvar while describing the chronology in Srishtikramam. He was vociferous against the thoughts, the tenets of Buddhism and Jainism. He had nothing against Gautama Buddha or Mahavira. His opposition was against the ideology of Buddhism and Jainism. He mentions this. Ariyar Shamanar, Ayartar Pautar, Siriyar Shivapattar Seppil, Veriyaya Mayavanai, Malavanai, Madavanai, Yettadar Yinavare Adalal Yindru, he says. As Tirumalizhai Alvar was extremely devoted to the Lord, the society was not very just to him. It is said that once, while he was walking by the streets of Perumpuliyur, a village, he noticed a few young students learning the verses of Krishna Yajurveda from their Acharya. As they were learning, the teacher who was teaching them the Vedic aphorisms thought it was right for him to stop teaching, because a person belonging to another community who is the Alvar was walking by, and this teacher did not want the Vedic aphorisms or the statements to be heard by Alvar. As he stopped the class and let the Alvar pass by that street, a few steps after the Alvar had passed that particular house, the teacher wished to continue the recitation of the Vedic passage. But the beauty was, he did not know where he had left the passage. There should be a bookmarker like place, right? He should have marked that place. The beauty was even the young students did not know where the teacher had left. That is when a very unique act was performed by Tirumizhai Azhwar. He took a maze, black in color, took that in his hand, used his nails and tore that like a dicotyledon, like how Nisimha would tear Hiranyakashipu, or like how we would break the seeds of a dicotyledon. The moment this was broken, this was torn open, the teacher who was teaching could get clue from what Azhwar had done and remembered where he had left, because the place where he had left was Nairitam Charum Parivritye Grihye Krishnanam Vrihinam Nakha Nirbhinnam. Krishnanam, dark, Vrihinam, that means Nakha Nirbhinnam, that means that is taken into two pieces with the help of nails, is what that particular Vedic statement says. And that is the place where the teacher had left the class halfway. And that is the place with just an indication Azhwar said, this is the place where you had left. Understanding the depth of knowledge what Azhwar had, the teacher came running and fell at his feet. Besides this, there is a very interesting incident. Tirumizhai Azhwar, he had a small hermitage, and in that hermitage, assisting him day in and day out, was his Antaranga Sishya called as Kanikannan. There used to be an old lady who used to come to this hermitage every day, and she used to sprinkle water on the floor, clean it up, make beautiful rangoli designs as a mark of auspiciousness, and would leave. She was a very old lady, the city knew of her. It is said one day, the Azhwar, who opened his eyes after deep meditation, looked at her like how Muchukunda looked at Kalayavana. His benign grace fell on her, and she turned into a 16-year-old teenager, a very, very smart, beautiful girl who could participate in any of the world pageant title events like Miss World, Miss Universe. She was very pretty. She received the grace of the Azhwar and she walked by the streets. At that point in time, the king of that particular region, the Pallava king, saw this beautiful woman and asked, "I've never seen you before. Who are you, oh you young lady?" This lady laughs and says, "See, I was never young. I'm made young." "What do you mean by made young?" "I was old. This particular Tirumizhai Azhwar looked at me and I've turned young." The king, he was amazed at Azhwar's prowess. He thought he should make use of the Azhwar's prowess in making him young so that he could enjoy, he could have his own sensual pleasures. He called up the student of Tirumizhai Azhwar called as Kanikannan and said, "Kanikanna, please ask your guru, your acharya, to look at me so that even I turn young." Kanikannan said, "See, that was not an intentional incident at all. He looked and she turned young. And here my acharya is there to meditate upon the Lord, and he is not here to go on a mission to make all the old people young." So that very moment the king got angry because he has never heard people answering him back. He said, "If you're not interested to inform your guru, if your guru is not interested, I command you that you have to get out of my Pallava country." Kanikannan said, "Okay, fine. If that's the commandment of the king, I shall follow. I shall go seek the permission of my acharya and leave." By then, his acharya Tirumizhai Piran or Azhwar was worshipping the Moolamurti of Tiruvekka Yathoktakari. He's called Vega Setu. Earlier name was Vega Setu because he became the bridge to the flowing waters of Saraswati called Vegavati. So he is called Vega Setu, the one who became the bridge on Vegavati Nadi. So while his acharya Tirumizhai Azhwar was meditating upon the Lord of Tiruvekka, Kanikannan went and informed, "My dear acharya, I was asked by the king to convey to you that you have to make him young, but I informed, even without seeking your permission, that my acharya is not here to make old people young. He is into Sakshatkaram and Paramatma Sakshatkaram. But he has commanded me to go out of the kingdom. I shall do so. But I wanted to inform you. Kanikannan mentioned this and he left. Azhwars thought for some time. He said, if my student is not allowed to stay, then what will I do? How can I call myself an Acharya when there is no student? I shall follow my student. And as Tirumazhi Azhwar was about to leave the sanctum sanctorum, he looked back at the Lord, and the Lord's face seemed to suggest that, hey Azhwar, Tirumazhi Azhwar, trusting in you, I had come to this temple, but now you are leaving me. Please call me as well, is what the Lord could have indicated to Tirumazhi Azhwar. You know what Tirumazhi Azhwar said? He mentioned these lines. Kanikannan pohindran, Kamarum punkachi manivanna ni kidakka venda. My student Kanikannan has left. Even I am going to leave. Oh, you lotus-eyed Lord, you don't stay here. Tunivudaya shenna pulavanum shelgindren. Niyum undran painaha paye shuruttikkol. You have a beautiful serpent couch, my Lord. You roll it up. You roll it up like a mat. Hold it in under your arm and come along with me. Ni undan painaha paye shuruttikkol. It is said that that entire Kshetram lost its sheen. The entire Pallava country became so very, very, very weak. And Azhwar went to the outskirts of Kanchipuram and stayed one night along with his student Kanikannan, and the divine grace, the Lord Vegasetu also stayed with him. So entire Kanchipuram was doomed. That is when the priests got together and they advised the king to go seek remorse and apologize to the Azhwar. The king did so. The next morning, Azhwar said, okay, now that the king is asking, I cannot deny, I will go back to Kanchipuram. As he was leaving Kanchipuram, to go to Kanchipuram, his student Kanikannan also came. That is when the Lord said, see, you asked me to come here, I have come. Now you both leaving me alone. That is when the Azhwar said, see, Kanikannan is going back to Kanchipuram. If Kanikannan is going, even I am going. And if I am going, you can also follow me. What do I do with the serpent couch? You have asked me to roll it like a mat. You go and expand it further. You unroll it so that you can rest on it. Kanikannan pokkolindan Kamarum pookachi manivanna ni kidakka vendum. Tunivudaya shenna pulavanum shellavulindhen. Niyum undran painaha paye paduttukkol. Why don't you go and recline, take rest on the serpent couch? Is when the Lord came back. So this act of where the Azhwar commands the Lord to come, where he commands the Lord to go back, can happen in Sanatana Dharma because the devotee at times has more power than the Lord. Aham bhakta paradhinaha, says Krishna in Bhagavatam. He says, I am subservient to my devotees. People think that devotees are subservient to me. It is wrong. I am subservient to my devotees. So since the Lord is said to have performed what was told to him, he is called Sonna Vannam Seida Perumal. In Sanskritam, he is called Yatha Uktakari, Yathoktakari. Vedanta Deshika mentions this in a beautiful verse. Paripushyati Mangalani Pumsam Bhagavan Bhakti Matam Yathoktakari Pratyadishanti Bhavasaccharanam Prajanam Bhaktanu Ganturiha Yasya Gatagatani Bhaktanu Ganturiha. If Bhaktas say come, he comes. If they say go, he goes. So the one who follows the words of his Bhaktas is Yathoktakari. So this Azhwar is said to have had so much of devotion to the Lord. In one particular verse, he describes the concept of Dakshinamurti, the form of Lord Shiva who grants knowledge. ஆல நிழற்கீழ் அறநெறியை நால்வர்க்கு மேலையுகத்தான் உரைத்தான் மெய்தவத்தோ ஞானமளந்தானை ஆழிகிடந்தானை ஆள்மேல் வளர்ந்தானைத்தான் வணங்குமாறு. Lord Shiva with one leg closed, one leg extended, he sits at Dakshinamurti with 4 rishis at his feet. What is he doing? Asks the Azhwar. He explains the concept of Paramatma and how everyone should meditate upon Narayana is what Dakshinamurti explains. Dakshinyaramya Girishasya Murti, he says Vedanta Deshika. So while this being said on one side, there is a beautiful verse which Azhwar attributes to the Lord of Srirangam. He says, கொண்டை கொண்ட கோதை மீது தேன் உலாவு கூனி கூன் உண்டை கொண்ட ரங்க ஒட்டி உள்மகிழ்ந்த நாதனூர் நண்டை உண்டு நாரை பேர வாழை பாய நீலமே அண்டை கொண்டு கெண்டை மேயும் அந்த நீர் அரங்கமே. We have tongue twisters in every language, don't we? She sells seashells on the seashore. So there is a sa, there is a sh. She sells seashells on the seashore. So there is a sha, 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 sa, sha. Again, haven't we done these exercises of Betty bought some butter, the butter which Betty bought was bitter, so she put some bitter butter into the bitter butter to make the bitter butter better. How much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck would chuck wood? Many things happen in every language. Let's take Hindi. खिड़कियों के खड़कने से खड़कता है खड़क सिंह. So these are all tongue twisters, right? So in Tamil, the Azhwar comes with a beautiful tongue twister. Kondai konda kodai meedu ten ulavu kooni koon, undai konda ranga otti ulmagilnda nadanur, nandai undu narai pera valai paya niyame, andai kondu kendai meyum andanir arangame. So he says, while the Lord incarnated as Rama, he would take mud balls, attach them to the arrows and hit on the hunchback of Manthara, who's called Kuni in the Tamil tradition. And as those small mud balls would tickle the hunch, she would get tickled and she would come straight. So the hunch would go in. And after it falls down, that particular mud ball falls down, again she will bend and give that hunch. The Lord would frequently do this and enjoy. Kondai konda kodai meedu ten ulavu kooni koon. Similarly, the Azhwar takes us through the latter half of this verse and says that there is a fish that keeps running here and there. That is like the Baddhatma. Because we are all mad after sensual pleasures, right? I'm wearing a chain, I'm wearing a nice kurta. I'm running behind all this, just like how the fish is going in search. Whereas there is another fish, he tells, which rests under the shade of a blue lotus. It does not be so tense and it isn't as active as the other fishes because it knows it has surrendered to the Lord. Like how it has taken refuge under the blue lotus, even the Jivatma that takes refuge under the blue-hued Lord doesn't have to worry much. So the concept of Sharanagati is also something Tirumalizhai Azhwar professes and proposes in this particular Prabandham.